Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
You know, in 1947, Congress limited the president to only 2 terms, 8 years. That's because they said too much power for too long is a threat to our freedom. I happen to agree with them 100%, but, well, don't you think the same thing should hold true for Congress and the Senate? I mean, these guys have unlimited terms right now, and some of these guys have been in there for a very, very long time. Just look at these dinosaurs. Senator Patrick Leahy from Vermont, he's been in office for 40 years. Wow. Barbara Mikulski, she's been there for 38 years. Chuck Schumer, 34 years in office. Chuck Grassley, 34 years. Hatch has been there for 38 years. Mitch McConnell, 30 years in Kentucky. Harry Reid, one of the most corrupt senators of all time, he's been there for 32 years. Skip a couple of these guys, go to John McCain, another very corrupt politician, every bit as corrupt as Harry Reid. He's been there in Arizona for 32 years. Richard Durbin, 32 years, and Senator Pat Roberts of Kansas, 79 years old, 34 years in office. No person should hold power over a nation this long. And right now, there are 227 career politicians in Congress with, by the way, an average approval rating of anywhere from a dismal 9% to 16% approval rating of Congress. Can you believe that? Yet somehow, magically, they keep getting reelected again and again. And that's because they are bought and paid for. They are controlled by the big corporations that put them into power to begin with. And these same corporations are keeping them in power. And how's this for a conflict of interest? 87 members of Congress are being lobbied by members of their own family. I mean, it's basically turned into the modern-day mafia. They don't represent you. They represent their corporate controllers and the military-industrial complex. For example, the Air Force is developing the next stealth bomber, and the top defense contractors, Boeing, Northrop, Lockheed Martin, they are competing for a $55 billion contract, and 29 members of Congress own stock in those companies. That's how the game is played, ladies and gentlemen. And, you know, I want to give you a typical example of how Congress works. And this is one of many, many examples I could give you, but here's just a stereotypical example of Congress, all right? 93% of Americans, the overwhelming majority, they want the country of origin labels put on our meat products. That's all meat sold in the United States. Makes sense to everyone, right? Of course, we want to know where our meat came from. You know, we want to know if it was shipped in from China, if it was shipped in from Mexico. We have a right as consumers to know the country of origin. But the foreign countries that sell us their meat products, they don't want us to have labels on our meat. So the U.S. House of Representatives voted 300 to 131 to take the labels off our meat. And that's because Congress doesn't care about you. They no longer represent the will of the American people. I think most of us know that by now, but well, what the hell are we going to do about it, right? Well, what if I were to tell you that there is something that we can all do about it? And it might even be a lot easier than you think, because come to find out, the American people in the states, we have the authority to supersede Congress. We're going to tell you all about it. And like I said, it might be easier than you think. And we have Victoria Steele on the line with us right now. She is the Assistant National Director for Term Limits for U.S. Congress. I like the sound of that. Victoria, let me get this straight. We can add a term limits amendment to the Constitution, am I right? And there's nothing Congress could do about it?
That is absolutely correct, and that's exactly what we're working towards.
That is awesome, and I think a lot of folks are going to think it sounds too good to be true. Why don't you tell us how it's possible? I know a lot of people are going to say that Congress will never stand for something like this. They always pretend that they're going to, that it even campaign saying that they're going to go for term limits, but it never happens. How is it going to become possible this time?
Well, our founding fathers were geniuses. They left us an escape hatch in Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution, which details how the Constitution itself can be amended. There are actually two ways that the Constitution can be amended. The first one, everybody knows, goes through Congress, 2/3 of the House, 2/3 of the Senate,
Yep.
ratified by the state. The second option, and this is what we're doing, is starting with the state. 2/3 of the states can call for a convention to amend the Constitution for the same subject. Now, this is where the catch is. It has to be for the same subject. Once those 2/3 states, which in our case nowadays is 34 states, make that call, then all 50 states send one representative each, a delegate, to meet together to come up with proposed amendments. Now, those amendments still have to be ratified by 3/4 of the states, which is 38 states. Congress gets no say in this. That's the beauty of it. We can limit them, and they can do nothing about it.
Well, and you're obviously doing something right, because already they're starting to panic over this, because I noticed the lobbyists and the big corporations, they're totally opposed to this. And they're coming out of the woodwork saying, no, that this is not a good idea. So that's a good start. That means we're doing something right. But also, I think this is revolutionary right now, because right now we have social media. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, and we can get the word out. And by the way, your webpage is fantastic, and I know that I would like them to pull that up right now. I invite everybody to go to the webpage where they could sign the petition. And also, your Facebook page is very informative as well, and I think that's reaching a lot of people. Do you think that the time is now where we're actually at an advantage because of social media and networking?
Oh, absolutely. We actually started on Facebook, and once we got a solid base on Facebook, I think we were at about 50,000 followers, is when we branched out and we're like, okay, we need to reach more people. So we built our website. We set up on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Pinterest. We're working on a Tumblr account right now. We are hitting every social media. And I'm also working on Google Plus, trying to build up Google Plus as well. Social media is the backbone of what we're using to reach people, because national media, they're ignoring us right now. They don't want to touch us.
Well, I was going to say, first they ignore you, but pretty much you watch. It's not going to be too much longer where they're going to come out against this as well. So first there's the lobbyists, the big corporations. Next, naturally, is the mainstream news media, who's going to oppose this as well. How else can we get involved? And I know signing the petition is a big step, but what else could we do to get involved in this?
What we need right now, we need people out in the community with the hard copy of our petition. Our electronic petition is fantastic. It has helped us reach people we wouldn't have otherwise been able to reach. But those hard copy signatures, pen on paper, actually carry more weight with state legislatures than the electronic petition. We need people in all 50 states carrying our petition and going to people that they know. If we could we have 136,000 followers on our Facebook page. If we could get just everybody on our page to fill out one page of our petition, which is 15 signatures, that would put us so much closer to our goal. The more that we can get, the faster this is going to happen.
Well, and it only takes, I was just going to say, it only takes a couple minutes of everybody's time. And I know a lot of people are thinking to themselves, probably not our audience for the most part, but there are folks out there that are going to say, look, this is what the whole election process is about. If you don't like the candidates, or if you don't like the incumbents, if you don't like these guys in office, vote them out. Why is that not, why is that not a good idea?
Let me point something out as far as voting goes. And this is, what most people don't seem to grasp. There are 535 members of Congress. You, me, my next door neighbor, everybody gets to vote on exactly 3 of those members in Congress. You get to vote on your 2 senators and your 1 representative for your district. Congress has right now, as of today, I believe, and I didn't double check my figures, but 14% approval rating.
Well, no, and it does average, and I said before you came on, they average anywhere from a dismal 9% to a whopping 16%. And that's because we know that they're owned and controlled by the big corporations that put them in there to begin with, the military-industrial complex. They're also making money while they're in there. I was shocked to find out, I can't say I was shocked, but I'm not really surprised, but the average net worth of a U.S. senator goes up $1,600,000 annually. So every year they profit as well. So it's almost like they're getting commission because the big corporations are no doubt they're profiting. The military-industrial complex, they're profiting. And then their guys that they put into place, these congressmen and these senators, they're getting commission off of these deals as well.
Well, absolutely. And that's a figure that we've actually put out there time and again. Another figure that, plays heavily into, there's a 96% reelection rate for incumbents in Congress. 96% with a 14% approval rating. That's a big disconnect. The reason why is you have lobbyists are pouring $3.2 billion a year into congressional campaign funds into their pockets. So when you get to election time, the incumbent has all of this media coverage. They have all this money to spend, and a challenger coming in has very little money. There's a huge imbalance in the amount of coverage. The average American voter, those people who do go out and vote, which is dismally small numbers at this point, 80% admit to voting either based on recognizing the name on the ballot, their party line, they're either strict Democrat, strict Republican, or based on the commercials they see on TV or, the signs on the corner. And whoever has the most money can put out the most signs and the most commercials. No,
you're absolutely right. And I also noticed you had a figure on there on your Facebook page comparing to how much Boehner, for example, how much he spent on his elections compared to these guys that were running against him. And it was night and day. I mean, just millions and millions of dollars. So it's virtually impossible to run against these guys.
It is. It is impossible. And because of that, in the 2014 election, 58% of the incumbents ran unopposed in their primary. 58% didn't even have to fight against anybody in the primary.
Wow.
And then you get to the general election, and you have a voter who has, somebody that they may not particularly care for, or somebody of the other party. Wow. It's a catch-22. They're between a rock and a hard place. They're going to vote the party line, and you get the incumbent back in the office.
All right. Real quick, because we're almost out of time, I want to ask you about this. In May 1995, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that states cannot impose term limits. How do we get around that?
Supreme Court ruled that individual states could not limit their representatives separate from other representatives in the federal government. What we are doing is we are making it constitutional. We are adding an amendment to the Constitution that says all of Congress is limited. So it is even across the board. It's not the states doing it to their own individual representatives. This will be a constitutional amendment, just like the 22nd Amendment that was passed in the 1950s that limited presidential terms.
Well, fantastic. I love the sound of it, Victoria, and it's good to have you on our side. We got your back. And come on, folks, just a couple of minutes of your time, sign the petition, and let's kick out 227 career politicians out of Congress. Together, we can do it. Thank you for joining us, Victoria.
Thank you, sir.
All right. That's right, folks. Congress is not going to limit themselves, so it is up to us. And, if I had $1 for every time a politician used term limits as a campaign promise and then turned around and changed his mind, well, I'd be rich as a member of Congress. This is an American president. Just add puppet, then vote and repeat every 4 years. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Vote for Jeb, or you're just fucking stupid.
Fool me, we can't get fooled again.
Introducing Secret 12, the new Infowars Life vitamin B12 formulation. Most forms of vitamin B12 are highly processed and synthetic and could not be properly absorbed by the body. That's why for real results, so many are having to turn to painful B12 injections, which are known to have higher absorption rates. Now, InfowarsLife.com is excited to announce that we can bring you our most bioactive, powerful form of B12 that has been developed with our exclusive perfected process. Secret 12 is a binary of nutramedical grade, bioavailable coenzyme forms of B12, methylcobalamin, the same kind used in B12 injections, and adenosylcobalamin. Secret 12 is simply taken by mouth, right on the tongue, and then swallowed. No needles, no injections. Don't take my word for it. Try it for yourself. Discover the secret. Secret 12. Secure your revolutionary Secret 12 formula right now at InfowarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.